Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, local officials and vendors see an increase in the price of fireworks. What does this mean for community events and families looking to celebrate on the 4th of July? And the Supreme Court released a controversial ruling this morning regarding a New York gun law.
It's a toasty one out there, and even toastier weather is on the way for the next couple of days. The very latest details next at 5:30.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Dakota Makris. With the 4th of July less than 2 weeks away, prices for fireworks are exploding. WYMT's Keaton Hall has more on how this is affecting your favorite Independence Day celebrations.
Inflation and supply chain issues are increasing the cost of everything.
It's a struggle on folks. You don't know what we're going to do with things keep going up the way they are.
And as we get closer to Independence Day, those in search of fireworks are also feeling the pinch of skyrocketing prices.
It cost us probably an extra 40% this year versus last year to get the same show that we had for the 4th of July event.
Jeff Dobson is the judge executive in Knott County. They hold not one but 2 fireworks shows.
We wanted to do a much bigger show, but we had to kind of hold to about where we was at last year in order to stay within budget.
James Shoptaw manages the fireworks tent in front of the Walmart in Hazard. He says he can tell a difference this year.
I did this 2 years ago, and this year there's some things that I see that have went up $20 and $30, and then there's also some things that have remained the same. I guess it's just dependent on the product.
Despite the sticker shock on some items, Shoptaw remains optimistic.
I don't really think it'll affect them. I mean, it's the 4th of July. It's one of the greatest holidays in the year, in my opinion. And I think if the way that people like the 4th of July, I think they'll come and they'll still spend some money on some fireworks just to have a good time for the 4th.
Saying there's still plenty of ways.
It's probably one of the better deals. We've got 6-inch canisters
To get more bang for your buck. In Knott County, Keaton Hall, WYMT Mountain News.
There will be a free fireworks show at the Knott County Sportsplex on the 4th. Knott County Judge Executive Jeff Dobson says there will be free food, shops, and games for kids.
Well, it may still be June, but it feels like the 4th of July outside with the toasty weather we have around the mountains right now. Plenty of sunshine today has helped those temperatures boost into the upper 80s and low 90s. That's where we still are at this hour. Outside of Buffalo Mountain in southern Perry County, we sit at 90. That's actually a pretty nice looking shot with just the fair weather clouds and the blue skies out there. Even fewer clouds at London Corbin Airport this evening. Upper 80s to near 90. That's where London actually has been for the high today, 89. Same thing in Manchester. We're at 90 in Jacksboro and Middlesboro. Same thing in Hazard and Jonesville. 87 right now in Jackson, and a touch cooler in the Big Sandy where they've had a couple more clouds. Dew points for the most part have remained in the low to middle 50s, and that has really helped keep the oppressive heat at bay. So while it's hot, we're not adding to the misery with the humidity out there with those dew points there in the 50s. It's clean sweep on Pinpoint Doppler and just a few of those clouds in the Big Sandy. For tonight, mostly clear and mid-60s for those overnight lows. I've got the latest on when we could see some showers and storms try to return to the forecast coming up in just a few minutes. Dakota?
All right, Evan, thank you. Stunning testimony has come out over the past 2 weeks in public hearings called by the House Committee investigating the January 6th Capitol assault. Today, the spotlight is on the former president's campaign to get the Justice Department to assist in his failed efforts to stay in power. Illinois Republican Adam Kinzinger took the lead on questioning. Serena Marshall has more from Capitol Hill.
In its 5th and final hearing this month, the House January 6th committee laid out its findings on former President Trump's attempts to pressure the U.S. Justice Department into helping him overturn the 2020 election.
President Trump ultimately wanted the Department of Justice to say the election was, quote, corrupt and, quote, leave the rest to me and the Republican congressmen. The department's top leadership refused.
3 Justice Department officials in the Trump administration took the witness table, including former acting Attorney General Jeffrey Rosen.
At one point, he had raised the question of having a special counsel for election fraud. At a number of points, he raised requests that I meet with his campaign counsel, Mr. Giuliani.
We had concluded, based on actual investigations, actual witness interviews, actual reviews of documents, that these allegations simply had no merit.
Former acting Deputy Attorney General Richard Donahue had previously told the committee he threatened to resign if the former president replaced Rosen with another DOJ official, Jeffrey Clark.
He repeatedly said to the president that if he was put in the seat, he would conduct real investigations that would, in his view, uncover widespread fraud.
Clark's home was reportedly raided by federal agents Wednesday, and CBS News confirms federal investigators have served new subpoenas this week as it probes possible efforts to use invalid 2020 electors. Additional hearings are expected to continue next month after the July 4th recess, as committee members say they have received a deluge of new evidence.
Okay.
That includes hours of interviews with the former president and his inner circle, featured in the upcoming Discovery Plus documentary Unprecedented, from British filmmaker Alex Holder.
I had one interview with President Donald Trump before January 6th and 2 interviews with him after January 6th.
Alex Holder sat for a private deposition with the committee on Thursday. Serena Marshall, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
CBS News confirmed the Washington Post reporting that all committee members may receive U.S. Capitol Police security details due to an uptick in threats, though Chairman Benny Thompson and the committee's 2 Republican members already have security. In a 6-3 decision, the Supreme Court has struck down a restrictive new gun law ruling in favor of gun rights. This is the first major gun decision handed down by the Supreme Court in more than 1 decade. In their decision, the justices struck down a New York law requiring people to demonstrate a particular need for carrying a gun in order to get a license to carry one in public. The justices said the requirement violates the Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. The decision is expected to ultimately allow more people to legally carry guns in some of the nation's largest cities, including New York, Los Angeles, and Boston. About a quarter of the U.S. population lives in states expected to be affected by the ruling. While the decision is considered a win for gun right activists, some New York residents expressed their concern about the Supreme Court ruling. One of those residents was 28-year-old Nancy Cherie. She explained while she understands people's fears that regulation might be interpreted as a complete ban on access to guns, that is not what she is personally looking for.
We're saying, hey, it's looking like it's getting too easy for the wrong people to get it, so let's just make it a little harder for them, and you're still going to pass. You're still going to get your gun. You're still going to be able to do what you want to do and hold it.
The justice's decision overturned a lower court ruling throwing out a challenge to the law by 2 gun owners and the New York affiliate of the National Rifle Association, an influential gun rights group closely aligned with Republicans. Federal prosecutors want former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin to get 25 years in prison for violating George Floyd's civil rights. As part of his plea agreement, Chauvin faces between 20 and 25 years, and yesterday, prosecutors asked the judge for the maximum sentence, followed by 5 years of supervised release. They say the sentence, quote, appropriately captures the seriousness of the defendant's abuses and the lasting harms that he has inflicted on his victims, their families, and the larger community, end quote. Chauvin is already serving 22.5 years on state murder charges, and prosecutors have asked that the 25 years they're suggesting be served at the same time. A sentencing date has not been set. Federal prosecutors think Ghislaine Maxwell should sit in jail for 30 to 55 years for her role in Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse of young girls over the course of a decade. Prosecutors laid out their reasoning in a sentencing memo filed yesterday after Maxwell's attorneys asked for a significantly lighter sentence because of her, quote, difficult traumatic childhood, pointing to her claim that she's wrongfully being held responsible for Epstein's crimes. But prosecutors called those arguments both absurd and offensive, calling Maxwell the key to Epstein's entire operation. The 60-year-old is set to be sentenced next week. Federal officials say a motocross instructor who visits states from New York to Georgia, including Kentucky, has been charged with producing child pornography. 30-year-old Ryan Ewing is accused of engaging 6 minors in sexually explicit conduct to produce sexual abuse images and with transporting and possessing images of child sexual abuse. Justice Department officials say Ewing was arrested in Tennessee in December on state charges and has remained in custody. The Taliban are asking for international help after yesterday's catastrophic earthquake. It is the deadliest quake to strike the country in 2 decades. Well, the earthquake struck one of the poorest regions of Afghanistan. Decades of conflict, government corruption, and now crippling sanctions have brought the country to its knees and left the Taliban begging the international community for help. A spokesman for the UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs said the country is facing a major food insecurity.
It's in a country that's already on the brink. We know that. Food security situation is where we are talking about. We're close to a famine-like situation. People are really already hanging on by a thread.
Well, the quake killed at least 1,000 people and has left thousands of survivors homeless and facing widespread hunger. European lawmakers unfurled a 30-meter-long Ukrainian flag in front of the EU Parliament today as leaders prepared to make the country an official candidate to join the bloc. Well, the move is a step along the road to membership, but the process is expected to take years. Members of the EU Parliament placed member states' flags on the Ukrainian flag, then paraded on the front of the building.
It is a huge step for Ukraine. It is a really legendary day for every Ukrainian, and I'm really glad to be here. And being here, you can feel all Ukrainian spirit, all spirit of our heroes who are fighting every day in Ukraine.
It has been nearly 4 months since Russia invaded Ukraine. Well, coming up here on Mountain News at 5:30, student loan interest rates are due for a significant hike. What can you do to help pay for college?
Plus, it was toasty this afternoon, but we've got some even hotter weather on the way this week. Those details are next.
WYMT News app offers alerts on breaking stories as they happen, customized to the